Despite the claims that the DPRK is bad because it supposedly kills anyone who tries to defect to the South, as long as we ignore the footage of defectors coming home, the South Korean government has admitted that it killed one of its own citizens as he tried to cross the river into North Korea. A man by the name of Nam Young-ho tried to cross the Imjeon River. He was trying to defect. The government says that they believe he was trying to defect. He had jumped into the river and started swimming towards the north. The guards fired warning shots telling him to stop and come back. He ignored those shots and continued to swim towards the north, where he was eventually gunned down by South Korean troops, trying to prevent the man from leaving the country. It's usually reported quite often, although never really proven, that people are killed for trying to leave the DPRK. However, we do have a clear case of murder by the South Korean government for someone trying to go to the north, which is exactly what it is that the DPRK is criticized for supposedly doing. We do, however, by contrast, have the footage of people who have returned to the north from having lived in the south. There's plenty of footage of people who have left the DPRK and then returned because they found life in the South to be unfulfilling and, frankly, inhospitable. They face all kinds of discrimination. They're excluded from jobs. They're forced into poverty. Frequently women ending up in prostitution and end up in sex trafficking as well. And generally, life in the North, they say, actually was better. There was more opportunities for them to earn a living in which to survive. One thing I note here that I noted for a lot of the articles which discuss this incident is that nobody is talking about why someone would go into the North. I mean, if it's supposedly such an evil, horrible, terrible place that nobody would ever want to go to and thousands of people a year leave, which is actually not true anymore now that things have actually started to get better. Right now, the country is going through, a bit of an economic boom since Kim Jong-un did take power. There's been a massive reindustrialization of the country that has alleviated a lot of the suffering that was there. So, and the number of reported people actually leaving the DPRK has dropped down to about a trickle. Its height was, of course, during the famine because, well, there was a famine. Of course, people were leaving. People leave any country in which there is a famine going on. Much of the country has been rebuilt and is recovering from what was called the arduous march. There's been a massive reindustrialization. Many jobs have been created. Much infrastructure has been built. Meanwhile, in South Korea, it's still suffering from the effects of the global collapse of capitalism that began in 2008 that the developing world is still recovering from. Even the first world is still recovering from it. And South Korea is in no better of a shape than anybody else who's an occupied country, suffering from the same economic system. It's just important to note that in this case where somebody does defect to the north, and it does happen, it happens often enough. There's no real numbers on that because they're not particularly given to us. But this does happen, and it's important to note that it does happen. And the reasons why it happens, are generally, frankly, never reported in the media. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to rate, comment, subscribe, share on various social media. And if you want, there's some other good videos here you can check out.